the only place for everything Vikings. 6, 1, 2, Vikings.
Hello guys, and welcome back to the 612 Vikings podcast. I'm your host, Dustin, or That Vikings Fan, and today we are back with our co-host. I'm going to call him our co-host now because he's on here all the time, and he loves it here. We have Drew, or aka Skull TV. I'll have you introduce yourself for the people that don't know you or are new to the channel here.
Yep. Previous friend of the channel, now co-host, being promoted here. So, yep, like Dustin said, you can follow me on TikTok, which is right below for the YouTube audience at skull.tv, or you can follow me on Twitter or X at skulltv_ over there as well.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get right into this here, for the YouTube audience, as you guys can see, we have a brand new layout made by the one and only myself. I'm pretty happy with it. For those of you that are listening, make sure you guys go check out the YouTube version of this. I think it looks pretty clean. So made it, like I said, made it myself, and I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, we're gonna probably be using this here on forward. So yeah, there we go. We're gonna get into a lot of, or not a lot of things here, but we're going to get into a couple important things here that involve the Minnesota Vikings. And the first one is the Atlanta Falcons and their tampering. And I don't even want to say punishment because they didn't really get a punishment for what they did. The Eagles didn't even get anything done to them with tampering with Saquon Barkley. But the Falcons, Kirk Cousins, Charlie Werner, I think his name is, and then some other players. Darnell Mooney, that's who it was. So, yeah, they tampered with 3 different players there, and they were fined. They got stripped a 5th-round pick in 2025 and, fined, a couple dollars, it seems like. So, Drew, do you have the details with you?
Yeah, so the owner, Arthur Blank, will be getting a $250,000 fine, which, if you don't know, these millionaires, billionaires, that's
pocket change.
Yeah, pocket change for him, essentially. And Terry Fontenot, the let's call him the perceived clown of the 2024 NFL draft by taking Michael Penix over JJ McCarthy, will be receiving a $50,000 fine for him. Which, I mean, GMs don't make as much money compared to players, but it's still a significant fine for him. But it's not anything that's going to be what we thought it was going to be, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know about you, but I never really thought that the Falcons would get, severely punished, like a 1st-round pick taken away, anything that really benefited the Vikings even.
Mm-hmm.
But, something like this where it's just literally a slap on the wrist, 5th-round pick, whoop-de-doo. Like couple $100,000, stripped from owners and other people too. It's just a slap on the wrist. And I don't know if the NFL just doesn't care about, tampering. If this is the case, the Vikings should do it next year. They should start talking to players now. If that's the case, I don't know what else to say about that. It doesn't really affect the Vikings in any way, but it's just super interesting because there's a couple Vikings fans that actually thought it would, but I don't know. What's your take on this? I don't know.
See, the thing that's frustrating, it just seems like anytime the Vikings seem to get some sort of benefit, it doesn't go their way every single time. And the inconsistencies is what's really getting me, because I believe it was in 2022 or 2023. It was the Will Levis draft, I believe. Because it was when the Dolphins had to give up their first because they were tampering with Tom Brady, and Sean Payton, or I believe, was in that mix as well to replace Brian Flores in Miami. But because that was the legendary Joey Porter got taken at 32, but even though it was a 2nd-round pick, which was that Bears pick, so thank you for Chicago for that. But yeah, it's just weird to me how inconsistent they are with these. So I guess, if you're not really familiar with what's kind of going on. So they're saying, I think maybe the difference is with this is Miami was making active offers during the negotiating period. And I think that's where the discourse kind of is, where Atlanta really wasn't negotiating with Kirk during the pre-tampering period. So had they reached out to him when the Vikings were trying to work something out by like, maybe 2 weeks before that legal tampering period, I think that's when you would have probably seen that first round pick if these reports are correct. But it's still frustrating to the fact that it's like that they didn't follow the rules, and what precedent are we really setting here? Because it's frustrating with this gap where it's like where Miami gets a first and then Atlanta gets a couple of fines for an owner that's pretty much pocket change and a 5th-round pick. So you're basically, it feels like you're almost like you're just losing a 5th-round pick for a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, essentially, which that's the frustrating thing for me, at least. It's just this gap and no one really understands what's kind of going on here.
Yeah, no, and I think what not started it, but was kind of obvious to begin with was Kirk said in his I think his very first presser, yeah, I talked to the trainers and all that stuff, and that kind of raised a lot of eyebrows. Like you're not supposed to do that. Like I know NFL teams talk to players, as soon as that time period opens in free agency, that tampering. And, that's why they call it legal tampering, because, free agency doesn't start till, the next couple days after that. But, still, it is kind of obvious when Kirk said that. And I think Saquon said something around that too, where I don't know if he said anything now that I think about it, but I know the Eagles, they didn't get punished for it. I guess it wasn't as severe as, what the Falcons did with their 3 players and, but
yeah. And I think what kind of made it a little different with the Saquon tampering allegations was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were saying that Philly was using James Franklin to get a hold of him, and because he was his old college coach, kind of try to find this backdoor way to kind of,
that makes sense.
Try to talk to him essentially to get him back in Philly. And I think that's what the Giants were just trying to do. And I think with him being that division rival, I think that's kind of why they were trying to find any sort of way to get back at that team, especially like a division rival like, the Philadelphia Eagles like that, which, and I get it, it's, like I said, they're division rivals, it was a little bit different of a scenario with Philly. And
Yeah.
I thought, if anything, if there was going to be a team that kind of got the slap on the wrist at worst, was probably going to be Philly. I thought what Atlanta was going to get was what Philly was going to get. That's kind of my expectations. If there was, I feel like that's what more is fair and just. But it came back, like, had they even negotiated, they just didn't find any evidence that there was any sort of tampering there. So
yeah, because the Eagles, they didn't get anything, as far as punishment, so yeah, it was just the Falcons that got their little slap on the wrist, and that was pretty much it. So yeah, if you have anything else to say on this topic, I think I'm pretty kaput on that. I think it pretty much is what it is.
Yeah.
So
we can I think the next big topic to discuss is OTAs and special teams. There's been some reports on Ryan Wright having some competition, which he's kind of familiar with that. If you remember back then with Jordan Berry, the Aussie punter, he took that job away. Everyone kind of felt like his job was the safe one. And they got this guy named Seth Vernon. I believe he was on the Atlanta practice squad from what I was reading. I think he's a second-year guy, or a rookie first-year, second-year guy. So he's pretty young. He's about 25, a year older than Ryan Wright. But reports are saying that Seth Vernon's been impressing, and Ryan Wright seems to be struggling. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, dude, I just want to start off by saying that Seth Vernon guy does not look like a punter at all. He's more like a linebacker, because I think he's 6'5". I don't know his weight, but he's a very tall, big dude, and you would not think that he is a punter at all. But before I get into my opinion here, I'm gonna give us a SeatGeek ad. You guys can watch this, and then I'll explain how that all works. All right, so if you guys thought that video was pretty, I can't even talk. If you thought that video was pretty cool, I did not make that. I will not put myself into that. But that was by SeatGeek. Make sure you guys download SeatGeek for the best tickets in any concert, game, NFL game, MLB, anything like that. Any concerts. I know I said that already, but make sure you guys go download SeatGeek. Use the promo code THATVIKINGSFAN for $20 off your first purchase. And yeah, I use SeatGeek all the time. That you guys see me go to pretty much all the Vikings games, and that's the app I use. And you guys see the great seats that I have, so you guys might as well download that as well and use that Vikings fan for $20 off. So yeah, let's get it right into the special teams here. Yeah, Ryan Wright had a great rookie season with the Vikings. He had an amazing leg. He would pin punts down at the 20 like all the time, and just had a big leg. Very accurate his rookie year, and then last year just it seemed like he fell off a cliff. Now I personally didn't think he was terrible by any chance or by any means, but I guess PFF didn't like him. A lot of fans didn't like him. Now that I see and read on all that, I can agree with that. So I think it's healthy to have special teams competition like that, where you have Ryan Wright and Seth Vernon, two guys kind of go at it. And like you said, there's been reports of Seth Vernon kind of out battling Ryan Wright per se. I don't know what you can out battle a punter on, whether that's just being accurate, just booting it a little farther, whatever it goes into for being a punter. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I would like to see Ryan Wright get one more chance. I know he'll get that in the preseason, but I would like to also see Seth Vernon in preseason, just see what he has, see how good of a punter he is, and see if he works. Because with special teams, your kicker, your long snapper, and your punter all have to work together. It's not just a simple snap, kick, hold. Goes through the uprights. That all is a timing thing, and if you don't get that down, that's why Barry was cut, a few years back, is because he wasn't right in the special teams, I guess mechanics you want to call it, where everything just wasn't you know in the right order. I don't know what it was, but something was off, and a lot of it, the punter is in the middle of the long snapper and the kicker, so it depends on how the punter holds it, stuff like that. But that's just very basic on the surface knowledge of special teams. But yeah, Drew, what's your take on the Ryan Wright situation?
Yeah, like I said, punters do more than just punt. They're also your holders for your
Yep.
kickers. So, with the Vikings just drafting Will Reichard out of Alabama, so if you're not very familiar with Will Reichard, this guy has the all-time points record in college football history. It was like 580, 590, somewhere just shy of 600, kind of in that ballpark range. But this guy's got a very strong leg. It's not going to be I won't expect Justin Tucker. I wouldn't go that far, but he's got a leg. He could probably hit a 60-yarder every now and then if he's got the right, footing on it. He's very accurate. He's like I say, you don't become the all-time points leader in college football history by being inaccurate. So,
Yeah.
but with the Vikings kicking woes we've had since pretty much forever, it feels like, but I would build it more around Will Riker. Ask and see where he feels more comfortable with. Because I feel like now, like you said earlier, like the Seth Vernon guy's kind of got this linebacker body, maybe, and Will Riker really doesn't have that body with the new kickoff rules. Maybe that is something that could go into effect too,
Mm-hmm.
based on how far they can kick it and having the tackling mechanics and all that. But I think building around Will Reichard, seeing what he's comfortable with, because holding matters. We've seen it with Matt Weil and the issues that we had with Dan Bailey early on, and then
Jeff
they went
Locke
to
that one time.
Jeff Locke. The we want. I'm not even going to talk about that, but
Yeah, no.
the Blair Walsh. But yeah, it
He
really
said
does
it.
matter. I did. Yep. Yeah, it's like, and then when they went to Britton Colquitt with Dan Bailey in 2019, it seemed like, things were kind of turning around in the kicking game. Dan Bailey was pretty accurate that season. They went and beat the Saints in the playoffs in New Orleans. So holding does matter. It's a very underrated part of special teams. So um, I'm really big on Will Reichard, and I would be more on the side of whatever he's feeling comfortable with, and whoever can hold the best. That's what I would go with. I feel like if it's really that neck and neck, I feel like that should be the decision maker.
Yeah, for sure. And I could probably speak for Drew in this one, but we're not special teams experts by any means, but it's just something that is noticeable to avid fans like us. The casual person will be like, "Oh, he sucks," but it's all a sequence of events that goes on for a field goal, a kickoff, a punt, whatever it is. So one thing doesn't go right, whether the snap is just to the left, the hold is, not in the right place, the kicker doesn't kick the ball the right way. It's all a sequence of events. So, it all has to work together. And I trust Matt Daniels to get that, group very tight and work together. And, they have all summer, and all training camp and, a little bit of fall to, August, September to, refine their craft and everything like that. And it's basically, your kicker and your punter are brand new for this season if you do move on from Ryan Wright to Seth Vernon. But, it'd be a very interesting rookie season for both of them, if that were the case. I'm excited to see how Will Reichard does, translate that winning mentality from, Alabama, the most points scored in college history too, is, translate that over to the Vikings in the NFL. Just, it's something that is not super easy either. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm super interested in that.
Yeah. And I think as we go on to our next topic of discussion, I think we should bring a little ad break brought to you by Underdog Fantasy.
Let's do it. I'll roll
Yep.
it.
Yep. This break is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest way to get into action on your favorite games. With Pick'em, you can pick higher or lower on various stats and win up to 20 times your money in a single bet. Underdog keeps it simple and easy through their website and mobile app. Pick between 2 and 5 players in a single bet to fill out your entry and use code THATVIKINGSFAN to claim your special pick and first time deposit up to $250 in bonus cash.
Awesome. Sounds great. I think that sounds like a pretty great deal because you can win some serious cash on there. Those of you that do know me and our group, we were on Jaden's Jerseys podcast, the TPT podcast. Go check that out. We would do a little sideshow called Best Bets, and we would use Underdog Fantasy, and we won. I think Drew can attest to this. We won some serious money on there. Me, Nick, Jaden, Drew, we all won lots and lots of money on there. It's super easy. All you gotta do is pick your favorite players. You can pick between 2 to what is it, 5 or 6?
Yeah,
5. Yeah. Sometimes you can get up to 6 and more, but that's for special events. But yeah, let me check to see who is their special. So tomorrow, Friday, Jason Tatum will have a special. So make sure you guys check that out. So what those specials are is, maybe like half a point for Jason Tatum. Obviously, he's going to go over that. So, that's worth a look. Make sure you guys go download Underdog Fantasy and use the code THATVIKINGSFAN.
Yeah.
And double your entry.
What makes Underdog so much better than the rest of the apps too is that you can also insure your bets. So unlike your other apps where it's
I do that
parlay,
all the time.
Yep, unless for the other apps you have to have a parlay, you get one leg short. Where Underdog, you can get that one leg short and still win some cash on the side too. If you insure your bets, you'll take half a loss, but I think it's really worth it to kind of have that extra security as well. Just that way you can still get some money, but also having like a little bit of a sweat-free kind of bet as well if you're a little bit worried about that.
Drew, let me ask you, would you rather win no money or a little bit of money?
A little bit of money. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't want to exactly. So but yeah, speaking about money, who just got paid, another NFL news, we got Trevor Lawrence from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is now up there with Joe Burrow, getting a 5-year, $275 million extension with $200 million guaranteed. and
Wow.
140 million is due at signing bonus. So, Dustin, what are your kind of thoughts on Trevor Lawrence getting this big fat contract from the Jaguars?
My very first thought is, okay, I like Trevor Lawrence, but for a quarterback that has yet to get over 10 wins in a season, is he really worth that? And Trevor Lawrence hasn't been that generational talent that he was in college. That hasn't quite transferred over to the NFL, I guess, yet. He's still young. It still can happen. He can still be on that Mahomes level. But as of right now, he's kind of in that B to C tier. Like I said, he's good, but just hasn't translated fully quite yet. So, that kind of dictates the market. There might be some other quarterbacks that got paid this offseason too, but
Hmm.
before Lawrence, but this kind of sets the market in a way where your signing bonus, your guarantees, just the contract in general, kind of hinting later in the episode, that's gonna go to a certain quarterback in the NFC North here soon. So yeah, no, what's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? It's crazy.
Yeah, I think with Trevor Lawrence, I think he kind of gets a mulligan for that first year with Urban Meyer, and I think the fans have kind of universally have accepted that to a certain degree because
For
that
sure.
was just, I mean, when your head coach is kind of kicking your players, that you kind of and all this stuff was kind of being leaked out. You kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, and I mean, even
And
I feel
going
like
to
that's even
clubs.
yeah, like having younger women grind up on him. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, what the heck?
yeah, I mean, honestly, like I feel like it should be kind of common law where I feel like you don't give up on a rookie quarterback first year. I mean, it's pretty rare it happens. We had Josh Rosen. I mean, that's really the only guy I feel like you could kind of give up on year one. But
Hmm.
again, it's so few and far between. It just doesn't happen that often. So, and we all knew like Lawrence was this, like you said, he was this touted generational prospect that came in. All he did was win at Clemson, won a national championship. And then year two, Doug Peterson comes in. He really breaks out into his own, finds that consistency. They win a playoff game from 24 down. I believe it was about 24 down, 28 down, something
Yep.
like that from the Chargers. Um, Fortunately, they just caught up short to the Super Bowl champions in Kansas City from our friend at Jaden's Jerseys, who is a diehard Chiefs fan. So, like Dustin said, check out TPT podcast over on YouTube as well. Year three, it just he started off hot. Jacksonville kind of faded out. I don't know if it was like the injuries, but I think just kind of finding that consistency, and I think we'll kind of talk about some other QBs that need a payday and helping finding that consistency as well.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, no. So, as you guys could probably guess, the next quarterback that's gonna get paid, most likely, in the NFC North, there's been rumblings of it getting done before the season even starts. Is quarterback Jordan Love. Does he really deserve that after, half a season practically? I, honestly, I thought he played pretty well, in the latter half of the season. First half was like, okay, yeah, this dude can't play. When he threw what, two or three interceptions against the Vikings at Lambeau Field, like, dude, like that didn't look like a starting caliber quarterback. You could blitz that guy all day long and he would not survive. But Jordan Love, if he can stay on the course of, what he did, the last 8 to 10 games of last season, yeah, okay, he might deserve that. But, that's also saying, he only played half a season. So does he really
Mhm.
deserve that? But I don't know. Like, I can't even fathom what type of contract he's going to get. I'm guessing he'll probably be in the realm of what Lawrence got, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I kind of hope that the Packers just write him a blank check and he gets more than Lawrence. Handicap that team, a little bit. Put 35 plus $1 million into your quarterback, and us Vikings fans can flip the Uno reverse card on them and be like, haha, you're stuck with a quarterback that you're paying 35 plus $1 million to. Now Jordan Love won a playoff game, has the same amount of wins as Kirk Cousins in the playoffs, but it's still young for Jordan Love. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. So like you said with Jordan Love, it was a tale of two seasons. It felt like where we can kind of take it back to on the road to Lambeau Field. It was kind of like a revenge game essentially for the Vikings because it was one seed on the line going into Lambeau and sealing the division, I believe, as well in your rival stadium. And they just got boat raced. And then they lost Brian O'Neill to a torn Achilles, which later happened on to Kirk Cousins because Lambeau Field has the shittiest turf we've ever seen. But yeah, it just I think just everything just like the wheels fell off, just things weren't going their way. They were left with a bad taste in their mouth, and the Vikings came in, they dominated them defensively, which is something they did not do that previous season. And Josh Metellus really kind of came into his own. It felt like that game. And unfortunately, Kirk tore his Achilles, but Jordan Addison really came into his own too because Justin Jefferson, I believe he was injured still, and he wasn't even on the field. So um, I think kind of coming in after that, little gift the Packer fans like to drop in every now and then to think that they own him, even though Justin Jefferson drops 90 a game on them. But if that's owning, then go
I'm
ahead
fine
and
with
be my.
that.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, 90 yards a
Yeah.
game and just constantly putting your corners in a blender. I'm definitely fine with that. But they'll just point and blame it on zone coverage apparently. So, but yeah, like it was an entertaining game. Unfortunately, Kirk tore his Achilles. They go on, and Jordan Love. He it seemed like he kind of figured it out after that game. Like that was his. It felt like a lot of Packer fans were kind of turning their back on him. That they were thinking, oh, did we make a mistake on letting Aaron Rodgers go? Granted, he tore his Achilles too, but maybe things are a little different and based on the turf. The slit turf there at New York. Maybe he doesn't do it there in Lambeau, but uh, yeah, he really turns it around, and they just go on a big. Basically, it felt like kind of run the tables 2.0 in Green Bay with Jordan Love. Essentially, I believe they were 3-6 after that loss to Minnesota, and they go in, they go 9-8, and then they go into Dallas being the first ever 7 seed to win in the playoffs. So big accomplishment for him there.
On the road too.
On the road too,
Crazy.
yeah, yeah, and granted, it's a team they kind of, I will say, Packers will definitely have been owning the Cowboys. Give them their flowers. They know how to go in and beat Dallas. It's just something they've been having. They've had their number lately, so they go in. They even gave the Niners a challenge. So
Mhm.
I'm buying the Packers. I really like them. I actually have them winning the division next year. Um, but like I said, I think for them it's going to come down to is consistency out of Jordan Love, and if he's getting paid, we'll see. If he does get paid, if I'm Jordan Love's agent, I think you kind of have to ask more than what Jared Goff was getting because I don't know if it's enough to trump Burrow yet because it was a half a season. I think that's what the Packers front office and Gutekunst will come back with. But I think if you can get like 53 and a half, I think would be a good market value, like a good like pinpoint for his 53 and a half a year on the total, not including the guarantees because that's all subject to whatever the teams feel like and agents kind of come to an agreement. But
Mhm.
um, yeah, like I said, it would be a risk. I mean, they took a risk on him by extending him for 1 year. I don't have the number on the top of my head, but I believe it was around 20 million. I think that's the contract he's on now because he didn't pick up his option. But like I
Let me
said,
look here.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead and look to confirm. Um, but yeah, I mean, Jordan Love he started off strong in Chicago, kind of fell off. Then he really picked it up. So I think like I said, for my prediction to be true on the Packers, Jordan Love has to find that consistency in Green Bay as well. So, but as Dustin's pulling it up, um, kind of bringing back to Trevor Lawrence to the earlier point in generational prospects in the Bears. The Bears also got Caleb Williams. We'll see how that plays out for him. Best of luck. I know he's going to be a little bit of a meme guy because the dresses and the fingernails, and let that be that. And I think for him to not to kind of avoid those allegations, essentially, he's going to have to pan out, or else he will be flamed on Twitter. The Twitter keyboard warriors will come after him. But I honestly like what a lot of the teams are building, and it's something that's very different. It's something I've never really experienced in my lifetime, where it felt like every single team has a direction towards the future. So Dustin, what are kind of your
Yeah.
thoughts on the division kind of having that future and direction?
Yeah, before I get to that, it was Jordan Love signed a 1 year, $13.5 million contract with the Packers. 8 million signing bonus, 13 guaranteed.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it is around 13
Hmm.
million there. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. Other than that, the NFC North, I guarantee you, within the next 5 years, one of these NFC North teams will be very deep in the playoffs or even play in a Super Bowl. I can't tell you which team that's going to be. I hope it's the Vikings. I hope they get to at least a Super Bowl. I would love to see them at least play in one, let alone win one. But yeah, no, I think this NFC North division is going to be very, very good in the next 5 to 10 years. It can start early as maybe next year or the year after, in 2 years. But yeah, no, it's gonna be a great division. It's gonna be a tough division. It's gonna be like how the NFC East was a few years ago with the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Giants, the Commanders a little bit, but yeah, no, it's gonna be fun to watch, and we're really gonna be butting heads a lot the next couple of years, and it's all friendly banter, but you can only hope that the Minnesota Vikings are gonna be on top every single year, but
Yeah.
one can only hope.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, and it is kind of weird. It's definitely a different feeling because the Lions have finally kind of found their winning ways back from what felt like the early Barry Sanders days, and it, for me, it's just kind of weird. Is it feels like every team's got that direction, but there's always like that but. I feel like
Yep.
the Lions, they found their winning ways, but can they keep it up for the future? Like Jared Goff just got paid, Penei Sewell just got paid, Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid. Aiden Hutchinson's going to get paid soon. That contract will probably start kicking up more after this upcoming season. But you
Hmm.
know how it's kind of the problem I feel like the Browns kind of had is they kind of found their winning ways with Baker, and then all of a sudden payday came for all their roster guys. So we'll see how they kind of pay those guys over there. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. Green Bay, I think for them it's Jordan Love. That's definitely their future right now, and can he find that consistency like we were saying earlier? And then the Bears, they put a lot of resources in this offense, which is something Bears fans are not very used to. I think I just saw something the other day where Caleb Williams only needs like 10 touchdowns as a rookie to set the Bears rookie passing touchdown record in the modern era, which is
That's
insane to me.
crazy.
Yeah, and I believe number 9 was Kyle Orton in his rookie year. So a
Oh
little
wow.
blast from the past for that. Yeah. I mean, they've had their woes. So if Caleb Williams can be close to what Trevor Lawrence is, I think Bears fans would take it. If they, a lot of people like to kind of bring Trevor Lawrence down a little bit because I think they've had him on this pedestal of this
Hmm.
set expectation that he has to be like the guy, like the next Peyton Manning, which is so hard to do. And to set that expectation on any 21-year-old coming in is asinine in my opinion. But
Hmm.
we'll see what he does. They added Rome Odunze. They've got some weapons around him, and they just got to keep him protected. That's the big thing for the Bears O line. Can they keep him protected, stay healthy? And if they can, they've got something there too. And then obviously with the bringing back to the best team in the North, the Vikings. You got JJ McCarthy. He's got the weapons too. He's got McCarthy's got Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. You know, Jefferson's still technically on his rookie deal coming on this upcoming season. Then the next year will be the extension money where Hawkinson's now on his extension year, the first year of that. But Jordan Addison, he's on a rookie deal still. So you've got some leeway there. And Vikings got the cap space too. They'll have the most cap space entering in the offseason next year. So they can definitely get some nice players. A lot of players say they want guys that have talent on the roster, which the Vikings have. Do they have the facilities? Do they have stable ownership? And the Vikings do check a lot of boxes. So it feels like if they want a player, they can go get that player. Um, but yeah, and I think the but for the Vikings would be it really it's going to go on JJ McCarthy. The team will just go how far JJ takes them, and we'll see how it goes. So I'm excited for the future.
Yeah, for sure. Not to mention too, JJ McCarthy will have a pretty decent offensive line too. Two good offensive tackles. Darisaw, he's gonna get paid hopefully this next year. Brian O'Neill's is a pretty solid tackle as well. If we can just shore up that interior, I think we'll be set. We will
Yeah.
definitely be set with that offense. And obviously a lot of money is gonna go into that offense too. Hawkinson got an extension last year. Obviously JJ or Jay Jetto's got his extension. You got Addison on his rookie deal. So the future's looking bright for the Vikings as well. And having a really young defense as well. Get some money into that defense, and off you go. So
yeah. Yeah. Future's definitely exciting. So, but yeah, I think that'll be a wrap for today, Dustin. If you want to send the closing segment out, and I'll pass it over to you for that.
Yeah, for sure. Make sure you guys, again, go check out SeatGeek, download that, use promo code THATVIKINGSFAN for $20 off your first purchase, and then also Underdog Fantasy, promo code THATVIKINGSFAN to match your first deposit up to $250. So with that said, that's all that we have for today. Make sure you guys follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, 612 Vikings, and follow us on Twitter at 612 Vikings. And that will be a wrap. Skol Vikes.
Skol.